Dun, 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 dun. Time for these. Where's the other one? Oh, there. Time for long tubes. Bam. Long overdue for sure. This exhaust setup, I did like it. I just didn't like the tone of it. Shorty headers, BBK H pipe. It's cool, but I didn't really like it. I missed the long tube tone, so today we're gonna be switching them out. This already got off. These are pretty easy to get off. Literally shorty headers. You can install them right from the engine bay, and they're not too difficult. You know, it's just you unbolt your H pipe first. Nothing too major. From there you unbolt your shorty headers from the motor. Nothing too major either. But these are long tubes. They are very awkward to get in, so today's video is going to be about how to kind of save yourself some time, or how to learn how to install these long tubes, because it's going to be a learning process for me as well. I've dropped long tubes in before, but that was with my motor out the car. So I put the long tubes on the motor and then dropped it in with the motor. So that was pretty simple. So this is going to be my first time putting long tubes while the motor is already in the car. But, you know, I think driver's side, that's going to be the most difficult side, I want to say, just because that steering shaft is in the way. My plan is I'm going to unbolt that steering shaft, get it out the way. Then from there, I'll be able to drop the long tube, bolt it up. Any other issues I run into, I'm going to note them, just because you guys might run into the same issue. My only problem for this side is I just need to get my couplings out the way, piping out the way, just so I have easier access. But I want to say the passenger side's easier, but we're going to figure it out. Worst case scenario, we're going to loosen the motor mounts, raise the motor up a bit, just to give us some more clearance. So yeah, let's get into this. So like I said, the way I'm going to try and do this is unbolting the steering shaft. So 11/16 nut at the bottom, 5/8 bolt at the top. Let's see, where is it at? Right there. Already unbolted it. So let's see. Gonna get that out. So steering shaft bolt is out. The only thing is, since it's sandwiched in here, you don't have no give to get the shaft out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to loosen the bolts on the rack and pinion, and that'll allow us to slide the rack a bit more forward. When that slides forward, this will slide out, and yeah, so let's get it. All right, here we are. Like I said, we're going to loosen up the rack to bring that steering shaft more forward. I got a 19 mil on the front right here. On the back side is the bolt. The head of that bolt is right back here. Boom, right there. It's a 15. So you got one on each side. Other one's right there. So there we go. Bolts are loosened. You know, like I said, we only need to bring it a few inches forward. So, you know, you loosen it enough just to bring it forward, because you don't want to drop your rack out or whatever. But yeah, we got both those loosened. I know, typical Foxbody, fucking oil everywhere. Can't do none. It's an old car. That's not the point. So we're going to try to slide the rack forward now. I should be able to just give it a, there we go. See how it slid forward? It's still being held in place. What I end up doing is I actually end up taking the nuts off all the way, just to give myself a lot more wiggle room. And I tried to fit the header in, you know, pulling it. Yeah, after pulling it and finessing it, there it is. So now it's more about getting it more in place. Actually, it's more just about bolting it up now. Also, one thing too is, if you do got these long tubes, they do come with new gaskets, so do not forget to put those new gaskets on too while you're there. Let me get all this out the way and then see what kind of issues we run into when it comes to the passenger side. Part 2, day 2. Didn't get to finish this side or start this side because, you know, it's hard. Got a family, got a home, got a lot of shit to take care of, but it's a new day. Let's try to get this long tube in. Let's try to get it fitted in and see what issues I run into. I got my intakes and stuff out the way, so let's get into it and see what else we gotta do. So after kind of just angling them straight up and finessing my way around the body and kind of like the starter and the K-member, it looks like it just wants to drop straight in, kind of just like that. like literally working it in as I go. Oh, my throttle body's in the way, but I think I could finesse my way around it. Yeah, that's like almost ready to kind of drop in and line up. Like it's already down there, not where it should be, but making its way there. Here, let me mess around with it some more. Let's see what happens. So let's see, all I did was unbolt these 4 bolts. Nothing too major, kept everything all connected still. I might just be able to finesse that in just with one hand. Let's see. Just gotta, you know, work your way around the chassis and the bell housing. That's really it. But here, let's see if I can mess with this a little. Here we are, part 3, day 3. As you can see, I got all my stuff back together. Long story short, what ended up needing to happen is, since I was having clearance issues hitting the chassis right here and the bell housing, I wasn't able to finesse it by. So what ended up happening is I ended up having to tie a rope right here, offset in front of the headers, right there where that first spark plug kind of is. I tied a rope, hooked up my engine hoist, ended up having to raise the motor about I want to say 4 inches. I ended up putting new motor mounts, so maybe that's something you guys should look into too. So since I had to change my motor mounts, I ended up raising the motor enough to get the motor mounts out, and then from there I was able to literally just perfectly sneak the header right there in, because we didn't need too much room to get by. So you're definitely going to have to raise the engine a few inches in order to get this passenger side in. Not too much, at least like 2-3 inches. You necessarily don't have to raise the motor to the point where your motor mounts come out. What I would suggest is definitely having an extra set of hands. Like I said, I replaced my motor mounts, and when I was trying to line my motor back in to drop into the K-member, I was having a hard time getting it to line up. Like I had to hold that, my friend had to hold that side, I had to work this side in, and vice versa. Once that side was in, got the nut on, had to finesse this, pull it, push it, just to get that to lock in. Let me just give you guys a little overview of what ended up basically happening. Help save you guys some time and some money, because honestly, this is my first time installing long tubes, and it really doesn't take no mechanical skill. Like, you don't have to be a freaking master mechanic to install long tubes. As long as you know how to turn a wrench and you got the will to do it yourself, that's all you need. What ended up happening was, for this driver's side, I loosened my steering rack, kind of loosened the steering shaft at the bolt up there, slid the power steering rack more forward, so it gave me more room to help clear that steering shaft, and I was able to just go right here from the driver's side, just put the long tube straight in, put the new gasket, tightened it up, torqued it to, you know, what felt right. The passenger side, let's see, you probably didn't end up needing to take off the throttle body. I had to raise my motor. I probably had enough space to even just finesse it straight through here. So basically what ended up having to happen is I put a rope, tied a knot from right there in front of the header, just about where the spark plug wire is. So tied the rope there, raised the engine, finessed the header right in. Same thing, put the new gasket. I got 1 bolt tied in on each side, tied in that one, and then the one at the very front. From there, lowered the motor back into its K-member bolts. I want to say you don't have to pull the motor mounts all the way out. You might need to. I replaced my motor mounts at the same time, so that might be something you have to look into too. Just put new motor mounts while you're there, just so you don't ever have to come back to it. Yeah, those are all in. Header bolts, those are snugged on. We got the new X pipe right here, that's bolted up. But I am going to have to get these tailpipes adjusted. There's a gap, so I need to bring them more forward. So yeah, so now let me just get a little sound clip for you guys so you can hear how it sounds. O2s are tied in, they're moved out the way so they don't get burnt by the exhaust. My first time installing long tubes, scale 1 to 10, it was maybe a 4 at most, nothing too hard. So yeah, let's get some sound clips. So right here, this is actually with the exhaust completely done, full straight pipe after the X pipe. So yeah, listen to this chop, let me know how you like it. Fuck, dude, that bitch is rowdy now. course, you gotta test that new exhaust with some donuts.